There are two women sitting in the same office. Same job title, same salary, same commute every morning. One of them checks her bank account with her eyes half closed. She already knows what she'll see, just enough to make it to Friday. The other one barely thinks about her bank account at all, not because she's rich, not because money doesn't matter to her, but because she crossed a line 2 years ago. A line that changed the entire psychology of how she relates to money. That line was $10,000, and what happened after she crossed it had nothing to do with the money itself. Most people think saving money is a linear process. You save $1,000, then $2,000, then $3,000. Each step is just like the last one, just a bigger number. But the research tells a completely different story. According to a 2024 Federal Reserve report, 37% of Americans say they could not cover an unexpected $400 expense with cash. Not $4,000, not $40,000, $400. Yet, at the same time, the personal savings rate in the United States sat at just 3.6% as of December 2025, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Americans are technically earning more than ever and saving almost none of it. What's happening? The answer isn't what most finance channels will tell you. It's not a budgeting problem. It's not a discipline problem. It's not even really an income problem. It's a threshold problem. And the first threshold, the one that changes everything, is $10,000. Here's what nobody explains about saving money. Below a certain level, saving feels like sacrifice with no reward. You cut back on dinner out, you skip the trip, you watch the number go from $200 to $400 to $800, and your life feels smaller. The money just sits there. It doesn't feel powerful. It doesn't feel like freedom. It just feels like a number on a screen. So, people spend it, not because they're irresponsible, because the psychological return on small savings is nearly zero. Behavioral economists call this the liquidity illusion. When people have small amounts saved, they mentally classify that money as accessible and available. It doesn't feel like a safety net. It feels like a balance, and balances get spent. But something shifts around $10,000. Researchers at the University of Arizona published findings showing that households with at least $10,000 in liquid savings reported dramatically different financial behaviors than those with less, even when income was identical. They made fewer impulse decisions. They negotiated better on large purchases. They were more likely to invest. They took more calculated career risks. The money wasn't just sitting in an account, it was changing how they thought. There's a name for this shift. Psychologists call it the security threshold effect. It's the point at which savings stop feeling like restriction and start feeling like power. Below the threshold, every financial decision is made from scarcity. Every unexpected bill creates panic. Every opportunity that requires upfront cost gets declined. Every career risk feels catastrophic. Above the threshold, the math is the same, but the psychology is completely different. Think about what $10,000 actually represents in practical terms. It's 3 to 6 months of essential expenses for many households. It means a sudden car repair doesn't destroy your month, a medical bill doesn't go to collections, a bad month at work doesn't spiral into a crisis. An unexpected opportunity, a course, a move, a business idea, becomes something you can actually consider instead of automatically dismiss. That single shift from reactive to deliberate changes every financial decision you make from that point forward. Let's talk about what the data says about people on both sides of this line. The Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, updated in 2025, found that the bottom 50% of American households by wealth hold less than $8,000 in total liquid assets on average. Less than $10,000 total for half of all American households. Meanwhile, the same survey found that households with over $10,000 in liquid savings were 3 times more likely to contribute to a retirement account, twice as likely to own equities, and significantly less likely to carry revolving credit card debt. These aren't rich households. Many of them earn modest incomes, but they crossed the threshold, and crossing it changed their behavior in ways that compound over years and decades. A 2025 Empower Financial study found that people with a financial cushion of $10,000 or more reported 40% lower financial stress scores than those with under $5,000 saved, even at the same income level, same paycheck, half the stress. The money didn't buy them things, it bought them peace, and peace produces better decisions. Now, here's where it gets counterintuitive. The first $10,000 is not just the hardest to save, it's also the most valuable. Dollar for dollar, that first $10,000 produces more life change than any $10,000 you will ever save after it. Here's why. Every $10,000 after the first one adds incremental security, but the first $10,000 creates an entirely new psychological baseline. It rewires the relationship between you and money. Think about it this way. When you have $200 saved and you see a $300 expense coming, your body goes into threat mode. Cortisol rises. Thinking narrows. You're in financial survival mode. When you have $12,000 saved and you see a $300 expense, nothing happens. You solve it, you move on. That neurological difference between threat mode and calm problem solving plays out hundreds of times per year in every financial decision you make. The person in threat mode makes worse decisions consistently. They pay late fees because they delayed opening bills. They pay higher interest because they couldn't negotiate from a position of stability. They miss opportunities because acting requires breathing room they don't have. The person past the threshold makes better decisions consistently, not because they're smarter, because their brain is operating in a completely different state. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Meet 2 women, both 28, both earning $58,000 per year. The first woman, let's call her Diana, has $1,200 saved. Every month, she intends to save more, but something always comes up. Last month, it was a car repair. The month before, a friend's wedding. She's not spending carelessly. Life just keeps happening, and her buffer stays thin. The second woman, let's call her Sarah, went through the same years, but 18 months ago, she made a decision. She set up an automatic transfer, $420 every payday before she could touch it. She cut nothing dramatic, just automated the savings first and spent what was left. It took her 14 months to cross $10,000. Here's what changed the moment Sarah crossed that line. When her employer mentioned a role opening in a different city, more responsibility, slightly higher pay, better long-term trajectory, Sarah applied. Diana didn't. The move required 2 months of transition expenses. Diana didn't have it. She let the opportunity pass. When Sarah's landlord raised her rent, she had time to look for a better apartment without panic. She negotiated, she moved on her timeline. Diana moved fast and took the first option she could afford because she had no time buffer. When Sarah got an unexpected tax bill, she paid it. Diana put it on a credit card at 24% interest. Same income, same year, but the gap between them is already growing, not because of big dramatic choices, because of hundreds of small ones made from completely different psychological positions. The mechanics of getting to $10,000 matter less than most people think, but the psychology of how you approach it matters enormously. Most people try to save what's left after spending. That approach almost never works. The brain treats money and checking as available. Available money gets spent. It's not weakness, it's how the human mind processes resources. The approach that actually works is paying yourself first. Decide on a fixed percentage before the month starts. Transfer it automatically on payday before you see it. Spend the rest without guilt. The specific percentage matters less than the consistency. A 2024 Vanguard study on retirement savings behavior found that automatic enrollment, where saving happens without a decision, increased participation rates from 49% to 86% among eligible employees. When saving requires a decision, most people don't save. When saving is automatic, most people don't stop it. The first $10,000 is really a behavioral design problem. You're not building wealth yet, you're building a system, and the system outlasts any single act of discipline. There's one more thing about the first $10,000 that most financial content completely ignores. It changes your identity. This sounds soft, but the research is serious. A 2023 study published in the Journal of Financial Psychology found that people who crossed a personally significant savings milestone reported a fundamental shift in how they described themselves financially. They stopped identifying as someone who's bad with money and started identifying as someone who saves. That identity shift matters enormously because behavior follows identity. Once Sarah started thinking of herself as someone who saves, saving became easier. It aligned with who she was, not just what she was trying to do. Spending impulsively started to feel inconsistent with her self-image. Diana still thinks of herself as someone who's trying to save. The intention is there, but the identity anchor isn't, and every setback confirms a story she's been telling herself for years. The first $10,000 doesn't just change your account balance, it changes the story. Now let's talk about what comes after the threshold. Because the first $10,000 is not a destination, it's a launchpad. Once you have a genuine security cushion, every dollar saved after that starts doing something completely different. It stops being emergency insurance. It starts being optionality. Optionality is the ability to make choices based on what you want, not what you have to do. According to research from Fidelity Investments, households that maintain liquid savings above $10,000 are 67% more likely to also be investing for retirement. The Security Foundation doesn't compete with investing, it enables it. And this is where compounding begins. A 35-year-old who starts investing $500 a month in a diversified index fund grows that to approximately $665,000 by age 60, assuming a 10% average annual return, consistent with historical S&P 500 data. But here's the detail most people miss. That investor almost certainly doesn't start at $0 in savings. They start from a position of security. They invest consistently because they have a buffer. They don't stop contributions when life happens, because life happening doesn't break them anymore. The first $10,000 is the structural foundation everything else gets built on. Before we close, let's address the most common objection directly. I can barely cover my expenses. $10,000 is completely unrealistic. This is the most understandable response, and it's also the most dangerous belief to hold, because the people most damaged by staying below the security threshold are precisely the people who feel they can't afford to cross it. Every month spent below $10,000 is another month of decisions made from scarcity, another month of late fees, missed opportunities, stress-driven choices, and expensive short-term fixes. The path to $10,000 doesn't require a windfall. It requires a system. $278 per month reaches $10,000 in 3 years. $420 per month gets there in under 2. $100 per month, even $100, gets there in under 9 years. And 9 years of being below the threshold versus above it represents an enormous difference in life outcomes. The math is accessible. The barrier is almost entirely psychological. You don't need a raise, you need a transfer. The woman in the office checking her account with her eyes half closed isn't less intelligent or less capable than the one who stopped worrying. She just hasn't crossed the line yet. That line is not about the number. $10,000 is not magic. It's not a lottery ticket. It won't solve every financial problem you have, but it will do something far more important than solve a problem. It will change the position you make all your other decisions from. And in personal finance, in life really, position is everything. The decisions you make from scarcity will always look different from the decisions you make from stability, even when the options are identical, even when the income is identical. Cross the threshold. Everything after it compounds differently.